Anything guy, Chris Camozzi. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Hey, I like being the original Ask Me Anything guy.
Like it's so crazy that like you joined like we had talked about doing it, and then the fact that you were like so open and like you kind of like, hey, let's do it and let's start it, and like it just took off from there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been on Reddit forever, and then I was on Millions, or I'm on Millions. I've been on here for a long time, so you just we're all in the same spots.
It's almost like I'm just riding your coattails. I'm just like, oh, where's Chris going next? I'll have to go.
I think I'm writing yours. You're getting all the deals.
No, no, no. Like you're still the big shot. I just like I said, I'm just trying to keep up, but it's not as easy. So you get a title shot. Like, were you expecting when they announced that Lorenzo was vacating? Were you expecting a title shot, or were you just your hands were kind of tied and you weren't sure what's going on?
I wasn't sure, honestly, because I mean, I think it was up in the air. He vacated. I feel like a while ago.
Yeah,
But then he was still in the rankings. It was still seemed up in the air. I think it was based off of his heavyweight fight. If
yeah,
he went in and lost, I figured they were keeping it for him. And I said a while back, rightfully so, right?
sure.
He had been dominating those divisions, and I figured he did deserve a crack at heavyweight. And then with the drug testing stuff or whatever happened, I mean that became a mess. So I don't know. I'm sure that they had to scramble around and figure out a lot of stuff, but I'm glad it worked out, and I'm glad I'm getting back in there.
Okay, so we can't, with like the whole hearsay and if you were to fight Lorenzo again, would you want to fight him in a place like California that tests, like so that way you could be sure that you're fighting, Lorenzo at 100% even playing field?
Nah. I mean, I don't really care.
Okay.
I mean, statistically, I would say there's been a lot of guys that I've fought in the past that were on stuff, and it doesn't help your chin. It might make you bigger, stronger, more explosive, but the one thing you can't change is your chin. So the same thing goes if I get robbed or something out on the street. I don't get to be like, hold on, are you on steroids? I got to be ready to throw down.
Who were you fighting today? Like your eye, I've never seen you
Yeah.
cut. You know what I mean? Like, well, I guess that you had that little cut. The one that Lorenzo gave you that was from Russia supposedly. But yeah, that's a nice little nick you
Yeah.
got there.
Yeah, it's like a little glove burn kind of. It's more like a scratch. It's not a cut, but yeah, I was going with Grant Neal today. We were sparring. We have our like hard sparring days Friday, and the gym was packed, so I had a bunch of great training partners to train with, and yeah, his glove slipped through my headgear, I guess.
I was just impressed that you're wearing headgear. You seem like the guy who doesn't like to wear headgear.
It's hit or miss. I
Yeah.
didn't, the last couple of weeks, but funny enough, one of the boxers at our gym asked me, he's like, "You don't wear headgear anymore?" Because I was out ready to go, and I was like, "Now that you said that, I'm gonna go get it because otherwise I'm gonna end up getting cut or something." I'm
Yeah.
like, could be a little superstitious on things like that, when people bring something up like that, and you're like, "Well, if I don't do it, then I'm gonna look back and be like, he literally said that, and then I got cut." So I went and put it on, and still got a little scratch.
Do you know much about DP? I know you're not a guy who watches like a lot of BKFC. Like you've got so much going on. Like you're one of those guys that's always on the move. You don't play video games. You don't do this. You're always like out in the wilderness, or like you and Whitney are traveling and doing stuff. So you don't watch a ton of film. But have you watched? Have you and Jake started breaking down Sawyer?
Not a ton yet. A lot of times when I start camp, I like to just focus on me. Um, I don't watch my opponents a ton because I'm expecting that he's training and getting better anyway. So I don't want to count on, this guy when he comes
Sure.
in 10 times better. But I will look for tendencies and stuff. But right now, I just focus on me. As it gets closer, we'll start looking at it and, seeing what we think we can capitalize on. But every camp, I usually just try to focus on me. I try to get better and better each day at everything. That way, I could be more well rounded.
How do you pick who's going to be in the corner with you? Like I know Jake's always going to be there, but it seems like you always have like a different little crew. Is it like the luck of the draw? Like you roll dice. Like how do you decide who gets to go in the corner with you?
Uh, yeah, I mean, from there, so Jake's my head coach. I mean, no disrespect to anybody else, but I kind of only, for the most part, need one
Sure.
um, because there's a cut man there, so Jake doesn't have to do it. So he can just talk to me the whole time, and that's who I train day in and day out with. So aside from that, it's I pick people that either are helping me train or there's some kind of reasoning. My brother corners me a lot of the time. He'll be in my corner this time.
Okay.
He's cornered me a ton over the years. And then that extra spot, a lot of times is my strength and conditioning coach since he trains me through the whole camp. But this fight, I might have a surprise guest. I don't even know if I should say it yet, but it's somebody everybody will know.
Awesome. Okay, so my
You're like, I want to ask.
yeah, no, I know, but I'm sure you'll tell me off stream, but I don't want to ruin your surprise. Okay, so you know how we reach out to people. So we reached out to Filthy Phil. I was like, I need somebody who's been with Camozzi since the beginning. So I know that he's been, taking pictures of you forever. He said, tell us about Pink Dragon, and he actually sent me the photo for Pink Dragon.
Yeah.
Here, I'll show it for people who don't. That's Chris as the Pink Dragon.
Yeah. That was years and years ago. Look how young I look in that photo.
Yeah.
No, he's got a lot of funny photos of me. We always have a good time. I'm not a model. I'm not like have all these poses.
Sure.
Whenever I take pictures with Whitney, I'm like, you're a model. So she'll move and have like 20 different poses. And I just stand there with the same stupid smile. Like, so when I would shoot some content with Phil, that was for a sponsor. We always come up with funny things. And we were out somewhere in Denver and there was like a pink fountain for some reason that day. And he's like, sit right here. So then, I did the little like dragon thing. I feel like he's got worse ones, but thankfully he sent you that one.
Yo, so no, he sent me 3. So then here is Titanic. That's I don't know who you're doing Titanic with, but yeah, he sent me Titanic. And then he sent me like your old photo from back during tough days. It's so weird because like it's got to be so dark because otherwise it brightens up. But he's a guy who said, he goes, I have so much dirt on Camozzi, but I just don't want to get him in trouble. So here's 3 semi good ones for him.
I don't think he's got anything that'll get me in trouble, but he's definitely got some funny stuff. I mean, it doesn't bother me. We have a good time. You can't take everything too serious. And Phil's a great dude. I'm happy to see that he is working with BKFC because I've known him for, I don't know, probably over 20 years, somewhere in there. And I know his whole family. They're all great. His kids are awesome. So I always wish him all the success. He's a great guy.
Okay, so Big Ben, the ring guy, said he wants to thank you for inviting him out to check out your guys' gym when he was out there and meet Jake and all those guys. And then his buddy Swervo was there, and he says hello too. So,
oh, awesome! Tell him I said hi. Yeah, I'll be seeing him here soon.
Right? Yeah, like he's asking if he can work your event. Okay, so we got another person. Let's see, Keegan. I asked for a story, and all Keegan said was, "Here's a smiley face." So, like, I feel like that's Keegan though. Like Keegan is just always smiling, and like he's off doing his own thing.
He just sent you a smiley face.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that'll work. Okay, so Brandon Gertz would like to know, ask him what it's like getting really good with a camera now that he's the official photographer for Whitney.
I know they like to give me shit because they always like, that's a big part of her job. So I'm, what do they call it? Like boyfriends of Instagram or whatever. There's a whole page about, people filming the guy filming. So my camera skills are pretty slick. A lot of her videos I do.
Is it weird? I mean, you're a dude in your 30s to be like, oh, that's my girlfriend. Like, we're men, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have girlfriends. Like, but, there's not like a good term. Like, when you start getting older, like, to me, like, girlfriends, like high school, like, like, when you start getting older, and I know you guys aren't married or anything, but it just seems weird to call somebody your girlfriend when you're, like, our age.
What's the alternative? I guess I never thought it was weird. Now you're going to make me think about it.
Well, you can't be like, oh, this is my significant other, because then it sounds like, like then you're like, oh, I don't know what pronouns or whatever to you. You know what I mean? So like there's no good alternative. But that's what like my wife, when we were dating, would call me her boy band. She goes like, you're my boyfriend husband, so you're my boy band. And I was like, oh, that's not too bad. And then we got married. So now we're just wives and husband. But,
I was like, wives.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, exactly. Okay. So your good buddy, Marcus Edwards, said, ask him about like back when I was a stripper. He goes, we have so many stories about back then. And then he said to ask you about when all of you guys went camping for your bachelor party and camping and boating and getting drunk for 4 days. And it was wild, he said.
Yeah. Where to start, Marcus? I don't think Marcus was ever a stripper, but he definitely likes to dance. So like the first time I ever went out with him when he, we've been at a few gyms together, And that guy, man, when he's on it, he's on it. You'll see him do it in the fight sometimes. And I always get pumped when he starts moving. I'm like, all right, he's feeling it, because he's really hard to keep up with when
Yeah.
he's feeling it and his feet are moving. Because that kid can dance for sure, but it translates into boxing too. He's a wild man. Yeah, that trip, we had a lot of fun. I mean, somebody fell through my tent the first day, and broke it, so I had to sleep with this thing like halfway closed. We did a lot of things we probably shouldn't, on boats, and a lot of alcohol was involved, and yeah.
It's weird as you get older now, but like you're doing all these like fun trips. You're going backpacking and like on horses and going out in the middle of Wyoming, and you're going on all these fun excursions. Like, do you plan these? Do you get invited to them because of Whitney and stuff, for like filming? Like, where do all these excursions come from?
A little bit all over. I can't say that I plan a lot of them because I'm really
Okay.
bad at planning things. If it's up to me, I get into like routines where I'll just do the same thing day in, day out. So that's why Whitney is my better half for sure, because she will book these trips or be like, "Hey, we got invited to go on this." Because of her being an influencer and stuff, we actually get a lot of this stuff is pretty well hooked up, which is not a
Sure.
bad gig for me because I don't even have to do anything half the time. Um, but yeah, we get to have a lot of fun, and that camping trip that when we went to Wyoming, that was through a friend of ours who's an outfitter out there who
Okay.
has a bunch of land, but on the off season, his wife wanted to start doing those like pack trips where you just go and hang out and do whatever out there. And I met him through Derek Wolf, so they organized that trip. Usually somebody's organizing it for me. Long story short, because I'm terrible at it.
Okay, so you are quite the celebrity in Colorado, but Colorado also has the football teams and the hockey teams and all. What's the pecking order out there? Like, I mean, you're like the big former UFC guy, but now the BK, and then you're friends with Derek Wolf, and you got basketball player friends. Like who's the big dog? Like, does a UFC player outrank a basketball player? But you got a Super Bowl champ, and Derek Wolf is the top of the list. Like, how does it go out there? Oh, did I lose you?
I can hear you, but your picture went
Oh, I
away.
wonder. Can you?
Camera
I
disabled.
just turned it back on. I don't know what's. Oh, there we are. Yeah.
There you go.
Who knows?
The pecking order. I don't know if there's a pecking order. Everybody's pretty cool. I feel like when you reach that level of like a professional athlete, um, it's there. People understand it because like you're in competition so much and at the highest level that you have a lot of respect for other athletes. But I mean, pecking order. I don't make the same kind of money those guys make. That's for sure. The fight game doesn't pay the same as the NFL or any other professional sport.
Do you get asked though? I mean, like it's got to be like, yeah, like they play football, but also you're like probably the toughest guy that they hang around. So then everybody's like, oh, you're the protector guy, or I mean, Grant, like you've got to have like everybody wants to talk to the fighter. You know what I mean? Like it seems like it.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of other professional athletes are super curious about fighting, because they've been at an elite level here, and they're like, "What's it like to get hit in the face or whatever?" And then Derek's a little bit different, because he was a savage on the football field, but he was a state champion wrestler. He trained with me for a long time. He's boxed a bit. He can fight. He knows what it's like to get punched in the face.
It's weird you have so much crossover. You have football players coming to fighting and all that, but you don't have very many fighters that go play football. But like it seems like the big thing is like getting all these people who have quite the influencer, I guess, boxing. Are you a fan of that? Like it doesn't really do much for you. Like what's your thoughts on it?
No, I'm a fan of the influencer boxing stuff, actually, a bit. I mean, I think it puts a different spin on it. It makes it exciting. There's always a ton of drama with it. So, of course, it's like watching a train wreck sometimes. You're like, can't
Sure.
look away, but you might hate on it. I got a little bit more respect for the influencer boxing scene when Whitney was fighting for that promotion Kingpin, because I got to know some of the people that were on it, and I would say my main thing is like as long as they take it serious and they actually train and treat it like a real thing. I don't like the ones that think it's a joke and
Sure.
talk all this shit and then fall down, just getting there for a check. But I do like the ones that actually put the time and effort into training and going for it, because they have a lot to put on the line, whether you like it or not. I mean, when they're public people competing and it's your first time, that's got to be pretty terrifying because my first fight, there was maybe like 100 or 200 people there.
Sure.
Whitney's first fight was at Wembley and it was
Yeah.
sold out. It's like, that's got to be pretty nerve wracking. You don't get any kind of like warm up fight.
Sure. Do you think, like, we see quite a few of the people that are doing bare knuckle are going to boxing now? If you win a belt, you won't be able to. But is that something that ever intrigued you? Like, you wanted to try to go do a couple professional boxing fights, or pro boxing that never really was your thing?
No, totally. I've always wanted to. I think the barrier to entry is a little bit harder because could I go do it? Yeah. But the pay is like nothing unless you get to jump in like Mike Perry fighting Jake Paul. So you gotta have those special circumstances line up. Back during, when was it? During COVID, kind of at the beginning when it was going to be Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones. Do you remember originally? And then they postponed it.
Yeah.
I got offered to be on that card against a guy from England named Vidal Riley, who was like a YouTuber, but he's a professional boxer.
Okay.
So I accepted, and then his team actually came back and said, never mind, they turned it down. They thought I had too much experience, but it looks like last time I looked, he's gone on to do pretty well as a pro. So it probably would have been a tougher fight than I was thinking. Originally, when I heard he was a YouTuber, I was like, I'm in, sign me up. And when he turned it down, they offered me to fight Badu Jack, who's a big boxer. You know, he's a couple-time world champion. I think
Sure.
he might be world champion right now, but they didn't want to increase the pay at all. So I was like, you want to pay me? It wasn't going to be a ton to fight the YouTuber.
Sure.
You want me to fight a world champion? And I talked to some coaches, and they were like, you know, that's a 6-7 figure fight. There's no way you're fighting for that.
No. Do you feel like, I know like you were definitely making more in the UFC, but do you feel like now, like they just announced today that DAZN is going to be, becoming a partner with the BKFC. Do you feel like something like that will help increase fighter pay, or is it going to take getting on like maybe like a national, like a bigger, like, like ABC or NBC or, like ESPN, something like that?
Actually I wanted to ask you, I saw the DAZN announcement and, we knew about it beforehand, but, I wanted to ask you because I haven't really been on my phone all day for the most part. I've been working. So I didn't really get to look into it. Like, what's the deal with the DAZN partnership?
So from what I'm hearing, like they didn't do a whole lot. I think they're going to talk about it tonight. But Dave Cranston said that they will still be using the app. It sounds like they're going to be doing new content on DAZN. They were talking about doing like a reality TV show and a couple like just like some episodes and like behind the scenes stuff. Like how when you win a fight and they follow you back and you're talking and like more behind the scenes stuff. So it sounds like that's kind of it. But then they also said that they're going to be doing some special fights, it sounds like. So it's one of those I don't know yet. And like I said, we'll know in a couple hours when they do the
yeah, show. I was thinking maybe they brought them on to bring back pay-per-views or something here and there, because I can imagine when they did their pay-per-view, doing it from their own app, it probably doesn't have the same security and stuff that, DAZN and Fight Pass and everything have. So people can pirate it.
Sure.
That's the whole purpose of partnering with those companies. So that was going to be my guess. I just didn't read into it today, but I don't know. I don't know if it'll be any bigger, any not. We'll see. I mean, I like DAZN. I have it. I've had it for years. I like watching boxing and stuff on there, so it's cool. I think they bring a lot of good production value, and I do think that they help with paying. If I heard right, I think they do help with paying purses on the card.
Sure.
So maybe the pay will go up.
So yesterday we interviewed Jeremy. You had a great story for me to ask him about. Like I said, he told me that he has no interest in fighting you. The one thing that he said he wishes BKFC would do better is communication. He said he feels like is the biggest downfall for BKFC. If you were to make one suggestion to make BKFC better, what would your suggestion be?
I would say he's spot on. Their communication is not the best, and I get it. I think they grew really fast. So they still have some employees doing multiple jobs. And yeah, I mean, it's hit or miss of who you get, what answer you get, because, they were telling me that I was going to fight. I mean, I was letting they told me for months and months, like, oh, we'll let you know Tuesday. We'll let you know Tuesday. I'll call you next Tuesday. And they just kept pushing the goal line down, where I wish there was a little bit more transparency. Like, hey, we don't have this figured out yet, whatever. That's a lot more understanding, or I would be a lot more understanding than if you feel like you just get blown off every time. So I hope that gets better as they grow. I think more staff will come on, and hopefully they can get all that worked out.
It does. That was basically what Jeremy was saying. He said, he was told he was going to be on that Knucklemania card, and then it was like, okay, you're going to be on the next California card, and now he's on this one. And he was actually getting like pretty upset. He goes, because it's hard to feed your family when you're like, okay, you're training and you're away from your family because you think you're going to get in a fight announced, and all of a sudden, like they pull that fight back. You
Yeah,
are one of those guys that has like a great job. You don't need to fight. Like you have a great job. You know what I mean? To me, it seems like fighting, just is something that you love to do. But a lot of guys don't have that. Can you I feel like enough like younger people don't realize, hey, you need to like use your brain and get a good job, and you can't just rely on fighting for your whole life.
yeah. I mean, like we were talking about earlier with NFL players and stuff. Those guys, even like league minimum, they don't need to do anything else. So like fighting hasn't progressed to that point, or the promotions aren't paying well enough for that yet, to where we're making millions. It's livable money. You can definitely, like when I was in the UFC, I was making livable money. And if I was more active in BKFC, like if they could keep me more active, it would be livable money. But it's hard to rely on. I've always thought through my entire career, like, what if I blow out my knee?
Sure.
I saw a lot of friends that were like in the UFC and stuff get shoulder surgery or a blown out knee, something like that that's bad that puts you out for a while. And some of them had to go start bartending and stuff to pay the bills because you don't get any checks if you're not competing. So there's no kind of IR, injury reserve payment. So it is tough. I tell all the younger fighters, when they want to quit their job and just be training every day, I'm like, that's great, but you're going to be broke. So you better like learn how to live very scarcely, or just get a night job or something where you can train during the day. That's what I did in the beginning.
Sure. Okay, so you've been in the ring many times. Do you have a favorite announcer? Like I know like Bruce Buffer's done your name, and you've had Jeff Houston, and you fought for numerous people. Is there a favorite announcer that's called your name in the ring?
Uh, yeah, I would say it's got to be Buffer. He's got that iconic voice. It used to be Michael Buffer. I feel like in boxing was really
Sure.
big, and I think Bruce like surpassed him as far as like he's got the what is it, Buffer 360. He's got all these moves now, and like he
Yeah.
gets hyped. And the more hyped they get, the more hyped you get. They do a good job. I mean, Jeff Houston's great too. He's really good at keeping the crowd hyped. We need the Pride Lady though. Actually, the Pride Lady, she didn't announce any of my fights. I don't even know her name, but that lady, that would be awesome if BKFC brought her over.
I just love, she'd scream the name Vandalay, like, yeah, she was fantastic to listen to.
Yeah, I heard you can hire her for like weddings and stuff,
Oh, really? That'd be great.
which would be awesome.
Do you have a favorite referee?
Favorite referee?
Did you have any
Well,
issues with referees ever? It seems like there's some guys that say like, "Hey, this guy cannot referee my fight. I feel like he's biased against me." Did you ever have anything like that? And if not, do you have a favorite?
no, I don't think. I don't. I mean, I personally didn't feel like any of them were biased towards or against me. Um, my favorite ref actually has never done BKFC, but I wish they would bring him. Is Jason Herzog? You know who that is?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Yeah, he's a great guy, but I mean, I can't think of any like bad calls he's made or like big mistakes. Now, granted, I know that like Herb Dean and those guys do have some mistakes that really stand out to people, but when you put the amount of fights that they're refereeing,
Sure.
it's probably not too bad. I like Dan Mergliotta a lot. Um, yeah, most of them are pretty good. I would say, yeah, I won't say that. I'll tell you off there.
Okay. Um, so there's a big fight tonight. You got the pit bull versus the tomahawk, and you got Houston Alexander, who's kind of just sitting on the sideline. Is there anybody like you get by Sawyer? Is there anybody in the 205 currently that you're like, I really want to fight that guy, or you're hoping after you win you want to like bring a big name into fight? Like what's your plans after you win?
Both, right? So, obviously, I got to worry about Sawyer first, but I think Jeremy Smith does deserve it. I mean, he's ranked above me, I think, and yeah, I think that he would be a fun fight because he just kind of stands and bangs it out, and he's tough
Yeah.
as hell.
Yeah.
But the business side of me would want a big name because that means I get paid more. But the fair, like traditional way should be the winner of tonight.
Sure. Do you? So again, you just said that he's ranked above you. He's fighting an unranked guy, and I asked him. I said, Why are you taking this risk?" And he said, "Because it's a fight, and a fight's a fight. It doesn't matter." Do you agree with that, or do you feel like you climb your way up the rankings for a reason? Like, why take the risk?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I wouldn't say why take the risk because him and I, we've talked, me, him, Sawyer, um, about trying to figure out what's going on and why we haven't fought. Because Jeremy Smith and I agreed to fight each other a long time ago. Well,
Sure.
probably like six months ago when we were going to Feldman. Like, hey, job's done. Like, just put us on a card. Like, I'll fight him. He'll fight me. We already talked about it. Um, and nothing was happening. So I don't blame him for fighting an unranked guy because at the end of the day, we had all been sitting there forever. I kept telling him, like, I'm only getting older. I'm 37.
Sure.
I don't want to fight once a year. If I had my way, I'd fight like 3 times a year, maybe 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, props to him for taking an unranked fight and putting it all on the line. I do think he wins tonight.
Yeah, Tomahawk's a tough guy. Like he's one of those guys that's gotten better every time he fights, but he's got the injury. You know what I mean? Like he breaks his hand. He says that he punches like everything. He uses every punches with full force, and that's why he breaks his hand. When you fight, do you throw everything with full force, or do you have to kind of pick your shots?
No, I definitely pick my shots. I think that there's a skill that comes into picking your shots. Sorry, my the sun's
No,
going down on my face here.
you're fine.
No, I mean, I think that there's a skill behind that. Like, everybody can go out and just swing as hard as they want. Um, yeah, I pick my shots. There's a lot of punches I throw that aren't full power. I mean, just
No, you're good. Yeah. I feel bad for you. I saw
um,
it going in your eye.
oh no, you're good. I live in a high rise, so when the sun starts coming down a little bit, it comes straight in the window. But yeah, I think yeah, you can't, especially with BKFC, you can't go in there and just bomb every punch because you're gonna break your hand. There's a reason he's broken his hand a lot. Um, it's about being precise. I say like football is a game of inches, and I feel like BKFC is like a game of millimeters because there is a very tiny gap that is the difference between me breaking my hand and not. Was what's his name again that he's Jeremy Smith's fighting?
Steve
Tomahawk?
Townsend. Yeah, Steve Tomahawk Townsend.
Wasn't he one of the guys that retired for injuries or no?
No, not yet.
Oh,
He fought Leo Brashear at the beginning of the year and broke both of his hands, and like I said, so he fought Gustavo Trujillo. He's fought quite a bit, and like I said, he's one of those guys that like actually he got into coaching, and now like it seems like stuff's clicking now that he's like coaching people and stuff like that. So like I said, I've only seen improvement in him. Like a lot of these guys, I think he said he's like 42 or 43. You see him start slowing down, but he's actually doing pretty well.
oh, nice. Yeah, coaching can help a lot. I mean, it starts opening up your mind, all these possibilities of different things because you have to come up with what to teach and show people. And I notice when I coach, I remember a lot of the fundamentals that I forgot because you have to explain to somebody where I'm so used to doing it, it's kind of mindless for me. But then
Sure.
I've figured out ways to skip a lot of steps. Whereas if I go back and I do it, especially with jiu-jitsu, step by step, it makes me better.
So Jeremy and I were again talking yesterday, or Jeremy Stevens. Anyway, so we kind of came up with MMA is full of athletes. BKFC is full of like actual professional fighters. It feels like. Would you agree with that? Like, it seems like a really well conditioned athlete can do well in MMA, but if you could have the best physique if you don't have like that spirit that says I really want to punch people in the face and get punched in the face. Like, you're not going to do well in BKFC.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think BKFC is for like, what did Sean O'Malley say? It's for the dogs.
Right?
I think I think Rockhold found that out coming over because Rockhold's a great fighter.
Sure.
He is solid everywhere and did very well. He was world champion. But his fights, he always liked like a prettier looking fight. Really technical, but pretty. You didn't ever see him in like all out brawls. And I think that BKFC involves like a lot more like, yeah, dogging you, willing to brawl it out because it only takes one little tiny bit to just shred your face up.
Do you have any interest? Again, you're doing really well with BKFC, and you're fighting for a title. So, like, if you win, you won't be able to. But is the bare knuckle like a Jorge's thing, or the bare knuckle MMA? Is that anything that's on your radar, or you're kind of just content with just sticking with boxing?
No, I've talked with them in the past. I'm not against any of it. I've always said, like I'm fighting because I want to, but also because if I can make the most money possible, might as well. Having a full time job makes fighting for me like bonus money. Things that I can invest in or do smart things. I don't buy a lot of dumb things,
Sure.
but I just trying to set myself up that way. I have something when I'm done. I know a lot of people that went broke or homeless or whatever when they're done competing because they just didn't plan or think ahead. And I grew up real poor, so I never want to go back.
Absolutely. One of these times when it's the off season, and I say off season, one of these times when you don't have a fight, I would love to get some of you MMA guys and BKFC guys and go down and catch alligators. I feel like you could do it. I feel like somebody like Justin Gaethje. I always say catching alligators is not a thinking man's sport. So I know like Justin Gaethje do go to think Gertz would do go. You can't overthink it. But like that's my goal is I want to take you guys catching alligators.
I'm in. Yeah, that would be fun. Gertz is the guy you want. He's the mountain man. He's as rough as they come.
He's one of my favorite people to follow on Instagram because he'll be jumping in the river and then he's building building on I just love that he's such a simplistic guy and he's an absolute psychopath in the ring.
Yeah, we're going. Whitney and I are going with him and his wife up to his property tomorrow. He's got a cool setup. He built everything there. He bought this land. He cleared it. He has all these paths, gardens. He built a cabin there, and like the river runs through it. He built his own wood burning hot tub.
Yeah,
right next to the river. So we're using it as like a recovery day because you can jump in the river. He dug out the river with like a backhoe when he first got there, so it's like a deep pit. Sure. Where it crosses the hot tub. So you can dive in, the river takes you down a little bit, you get out, and then you get back in the hot tub. It's like hot and cold therapy, but you're outside.
So, again, you're in your 30s. Do you have a final thing as like an age as a final, like you're going to stop at this age, or is it like you'll stop after so many fights? Like when will you know it's time?
I don't know. I'm playing it fight by fight, honestly.
Sure.
If I'm unsuccessful on this one, it could be my last. I don't know. I'm just kind of going with the flow, seeing what's coming next. I'm not in a hurry to retire, but I'm also not trying to fight in my mid 40s or anything. I've got other things going on, and but it's a hard thing to walk away from because I love doing it. So every time I think like, oh, should I start thinking about retirement? I'm like, then what am I going to do? I need to take up like skydiving or something. I need some adrenaline rush. Maybe it's catching alligators with you.
It could be catching alligators. I wasn't sure if like you still had that same passion. Like I know when you did your first bare knuckle fight, you're like, oh, that passion got fired up again. Like I wasn't sure if like it's still there, but it's not glowing as hard. But now that you have a title shot, does it seem to intensify it again, or like you're just like kind of it's plateaued and it is what it is?
Oh no, I'm still fired up every time. It's just. Okay. For me, I would say one thing that went away a little bit, and maybe that's because I have so many things going on outside, is, when I was younger, fight or not, I was training twice a day, 6 days a week. It was basically full-time camp. Whenever I got a fight, nothing changed. It was just like continue doing what you're doing because I was training so much. Now I'll go, a couple times a week if I don't have a fight. And then I focus on working the rest. But when I get a fight, then I jump back into it. So the passion's still there. It's just the reasoning, I got to be able to justify my time. Like if I'm still training twice a day, I'm not making money, or not as much money as I want. So it's just the risk and reward have to be the same.
Okay. I'm a fellow Colorado guy. I know you're a Colorado guy. I took my money and left and got out of Colorado. Colorado's, gotten so crazy. You are one of these people that's adamant about tagging people like, hey, come in, fix the problem. Like, what are your thoughts on Colorado? Like, I know you're in like downtown Denver, like, and we just talked off air, like you're looking at getting, away. Are you heading to the mountains, the plains? Like, where are you looking at going? And like, what are your thoughts on current Colorado?
It's funny because we live in like a very like trendy, nice, fun area, and we're moving to the suburbs,
Sure.
Maybe I am getting old. No, but Denver has gotten really bad, and it's not to go all political, but like our politics here are terrible. You know,
Yeah.
we're a sanctuary city, which I don't understand how anybody can get behind because crime is at an all time high here. They're not even putting these guys in jail; they let them right back out. And our street corners all over the place are full of like migrants standing there. They'll surround your car sometimes if you don't want your windows washed, and they start all coming around
Yeah.
your car, which is scary for a lot of people. And yeah, I mean, every corner now is full of people, and we got homeless encampments everywhere. It's just the inflation part has killed this city because it's so expensive to live here. We've become like LA,
Sure.
and just crime is getting worse, you know. So I have no problem tagging the governor and the mayor because they're all lying through their teeth. You know, they say that Aurora building is fake and that it was
Yeah.
overblown, and it's not. I could tell you firsthand it's not. They just try to hide it.
Is that
But I
something
love
that
the
interests
city,
you?
man.
Is politics like after you're done fighting? Is that something that kind of interests you? And like, or like, what's your plans after? I know you're doing the real estate, but I mean, like, would you like to have a gym? Like, go into politics? Like, just go be a hermit? Like, what would you like to do?
No, I don't think politics has ever interested me. It's a scummy thing. It's scummier than fighting.
Yeah.
You know, the fight game can be real scummy between managers, some promoters out there. Just kind of like leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But politics for me is just way too catty. It's way too fake. Um, yeah, no chance on that. But my plan after, obviously, you know, doing the commercial real estate thing, I'll continue to do that forever as long as I want. And then, you know, I've played with the idea of starting my own promotion when I'm done.
Okay.
Um, Maybe even a bare knuckle one that feeds for BKFC, kind of like LFA or other promotions feed the UFC. You know, I with moderate aspirations, right? Because I
Sure.
think everybody makes the error of like, well, I'm going to start a promotion and we're going to compete with the UFC. I would just like to have maybe a regional or local one that keep it small, keep it fun, make sure I enjoy it, and then you know I know all the gym owners and stuff in the city, so then I can help everybody else out because we need some more shows here.
It's definitely a thing. Like you know, a couple years ago, BKFC had like a feeder league, and now they're doing their own with the prospect shows and all that. But yeah, I kind of liked back when it was like you saw guys that were up and coming, and that way when you had the BKFC shows, it was all the top of the cream of the crop. I feel like they need to do the cream of the crop, and then let Chris Camozzi have his own little regional show and kind of like supply fighters down the line.
Yeah, I think if you let the big guys know, like, hey, I'm not coming after you. I'm just doing this to have some fun with it, and also, you know, just have a little stable locally. You know, I don't know. I went to one championship last weekend. I think it was last weekend, and it's really cool how they mix up the rules in fights. Like
Yeah,
you have jiu-jitsu matches, Muay Thai. I also think something like that would be cool, where I would do MMA, Muay Thai, boxing, and bare knuckle, like on the same cards, because we have really the commission in Colorado will work with anybody. We have like Lethway is approved here,
sure.
so that's
Could
Muay
you
Thai with
imagine?
headbutts and stuff.
Yeah, I love that. No, I
Yeah,
was.
so they're
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry. No, you go
Oh, I was
first.
just gonna say, so they're open to it, you know. So I think having even a local show that has mixed rules all over the place, just put the funnest fights possible with no like, I don't know, like Demetrius Johnson fighting Rotong. You know,
Yeah.
there was a lot on the line, but both of them were like, hey, this is a fight people would love to see. It's an attraction. I like that stuff.
No, I was gonna say. So I know at one point, they did the bare knuckle Muay Thai fight over there. I would love if BKFC over here was like, hey, we'll throw in a couple Muay Thai fights, or you're a guy who's a kickboxer. You know what I mean? Like you could absolutely do a bare knuckle Muay Thai fight, and I think it'd be fun just to change it up a little. You know what I mean? Like do some more fun stuff and keep people involved.
Yeah, bare knuckle Muay Thai would be fun. I also like the idea of even. I think that's what they did in Thailand, if I remember right. There was no knees or kicks. I think it should be all upper body. Honestly, I think it should be punches and elbows.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It
I thought
changes
they
it.
I thought they could knee. I didn't think they could elbow. Well, anyway, yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean that's and like you go back to Lethway, like that's the one thing. Like BKFC, I wish they would do some Lethway, some just all out insane violent stuff.
Yeah, I almost fought Lethway over in Myanmar years ago. I offered to fight David Ledoux,
Oh wow,
who's the champion over there. And
yeah.
I liked the fight and I wanted to do it, but the money wasn't going to make sense. I was like, by the time I do my trip over there, fly coaches or whatever, it's not even going to be worth anything. I wish the money was higher and I would have definitely done it.
Awesome, man. Well, you're a good buddy of ours. We love you on the Reddit. Is there any message you have for anybody before, any sponsors, anything you want to give shout outs to?
Let's see. I just signed a deal with a Perfect Touch Paints, they're a local painting company here. They paint houses and commercial buildings. Yeah, shout out to them. Let's see. My company, Hoff and Lease. If you're watching this and you're in Denver and you need some commercial real estate, I don't do residential, but if you need commercial, hit me up.
Sure.
But yeah, MIT 45, their new brand Uprising as well. They've been a long time supporter of mine, and I met them through BKFC. So yeah, it's great. And then Dialed In Gummies, I've done some deals with them. Or, yeah, this shirt.
Sure.
So I like those gummies. Help me sleep.
That's awesome. Well, again, I appreciate you being so active on the Reddit, and I look forward to chatting with you again. And we get that belt, and we'll go catch some alligators while you're wearing your belt or something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh, that'd be great. I'll dive off the boat or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to get one of those Reddit shirts too. How do I get one?
I'll get you one. Don't worry.
You got to load them on Millions, then people can just order and they drop ship them for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we talked to them. Yeah, they were going to do some gear for me. So awesome, man. Thanks so much. When I end the stream, it's going to kick it off, but I'll shoot you a message about some stuff.
Yeah, I want to send one more thing. So any of the guys on Reddit watching this, dude, I'm on there every day. Probably I look. I don't always comment, but if anybody ever has a question for me or anything, just make a thread or shoot me a message. I think it's fun, and I want to keep it going, and I want it to build more.
Awesome. We appreciate it. Thanks so much, dude.
Thank you.
Talk to you. Bye.
Bye.